Hey guys, it's Georgianne from Loa, and today we are talking about icing consistency, which is the single most important aspect of cookie decorating. Personally, I use the banging your bowl on the counter method to determine how thick my icing is. This is thick icing. If you bang it on the counter 5, 6, 7, or 8 times, you can see it still doesn't smooth out. It has some move to it, it'll flow around, but it still has ridges even when you bang it on the counter. To thin it down to medium consistency, we're going to add some water. I like to use my knife. I'll typically just put it under running water in the sink, but since I have no window by my sink, I'm doing it out of a bowl today. This is about 1.5 cups of icing, and you can see I added about 6 or 7 different knifeluls of water. Stir it around good until it's well mixed, and then we're going to bang it on the counter again and see if it smooths out to see what consistency it is. You can also tell how thick the icing is by the peak that it leaves behind when you draw it out of the bowl. This is a medium thick icing. The peak will fall over a little bit, but it'll still have a mound at the bottom of it when you bang it 5 times. See it's starting to smooth out. Not completely smooth. Medium thick icing is great for when you want to add dimension, when you want your icing to be puffy, when you want it to be thicker on the cookie. It's just, typically I use medium icing, but sometimes medium thick is just the right consistency for the design. But since it's almost medium icing, we don't need a whole lot more water to get it where we want it to be, maybe just 2 or 3 knifeluls of water. You can also use a spray bottle if you don't want to use a knife to add water to it. Again, when you're stirring the icing, make sure that you want to stir smoothly, but not incorporating a lot of air bubbles into the icing. So here's our medium icing. See how it makes a peak but falls over and just starts leaning and melting back into the rest of the icing. That's how you know it's medium icing. And when you bang it on the counter 5 times, it pretty much smooths out. You want it to be able to smooth out before the icing crusts over. That's the perfect level of consistency for medium icing. We're going to make it thin icing by adding about 7 or 8 more knifeluls of water, and then stirring it around again. Thin icing is better for flooding a cookie if you have a large area. When you're using the medium icing, you can outline and fill an entire cookie with medium icing. But if you're doing a wet-on-wet design or a larger cookie, you're definitely going to need to outline with the thicker icing and then flood with the thinner icing. So this is our thin icing here. You can see as we stir it around, it's already smoothing back on itself. When you try to pull a peak out, it doesn't really do it. It just falls back in. You don't really even need to bang it on the counter for it to smooth out, but if you are going to tap the bowl on the counter within 2 or 3 taps, it should smooth out completely, which is what you want. You want it to be so thin that it smooths out immediately for larger areas, or it stays thin long enough for you to accomplish any of the wet-on-wet designs that you want. So this is our perfectly thin icing here. You can see how it moves quickly. Like if you were to pick the bowl up and turn it sideways like we did with the thick icing, this would run out. So that's icing consistency. Don't forget to come visit me at www.livaloa.com.